Bonjour everyone, and welcome to this Masterclass Explainer. So, quick question right off the bat. How do you say, I will have finished my homework when you arrive, in French? If you're scratching your head, don't worry, you are in the exact right place. Today, we are cracking the code on le futur antérieur. It is an incredibly satisfying, totally logical tense that's going to take your French from just okay to absolutely fluent. Let's conquer some advanced grammar together.
Okay, here's our quick roadmap for today's explainer. We're going to kick things off with a welcome to the Futur Antérieur. Then look at the golden conjugation formula and how to choose between avoir and etre. After that, we'll cover key triggers and supposition, do a fun interactive practice quiz, and wrap up with a final review and action step. Let's dive right in.
Welcome to Futur Antérieur, or the I will have tense. Now I know, learning advanced French grammar can feel pretty intimidating, right? The word antérieur alone sounds like something you'd only hear in a stuffy linguistics class. But let me reassure you, you actually already possess all the tools you need to master this. We're just putting puzzle pieces you already know into a brand new arrangement.
To see exactly why we need this tense, let's look back at that communication gap I mentioned earlier. Think about how you would translate, I will have finished my homework when you arrive. If you just use the basic future tense, le futur simple, for both halves of that sentence, well, it kind of sounds like you'll finish the homework at the exact same moment the person walks in. And that's not what you mean. You mean the homework will be completely 100% done before they walk through the door. So consider this a puzzle we're going to solve together today.
So here's the absolute crucial point. Le futur antérieur is just a tense we use for an action that will have happened before another future event. Basically, it's the French equivalent of saying, I will have done something. It simply establishes a timeline in the future. Event A finishes completely so that event B can happen. Simple as that.
Moving on to section 2, the golden conjugation formula in 2 simple steps. Forming this tense is actually incredibly logical. In fact, it's pretty much just like simple math, using grammar you already know inside and out. Here is your golden formula. Step 1, you take an auxiliary or helper verb. That's going to be either avoir or être. And you conjugate that helper verb in le futur simple. Then step 2, you just add the participe passé, the past participle of your main verb. And boom, that is literally it. If you know how to make a past participle from your previous past tense lessons, and you know the future tense of those 2 main helper verbs, you've already mastered this formula.
Let's do a super quick mental recall of our future stems for these building blocks. For avoir, we start with j'aurai, tu auras, all the way down to ils auront. And for être, we've got je serai, tu seras, down to ils seront. Lock those patterns into your brain right now, because they are the engine driving your futur antérieur.
All right, section 3, choosing avoir or être. Just like le passé composé. Now you might be sitting there wondering, wait, how do I know which of those 2 helper verbs to choose? Well, get ready for a fantastic shortcut. The core rule here is beautifully simple. The selection rules are absolutely identical to le passé composé. Yep, think back to your early French days. Remember Dr. and Mrs. Vandertrap? All those verbs of movement and state of being? What about your reflexive verbs like se laver or se réveiller? If a verb takes être in the past tense, it automatically takes être in this future perfect tense. See? You don't have to learn a single new rule for this. We are just validating and reusing the grammar you already know. And this brilliantly illustrates that difference in action. On the left side, we finally solve our homework puzzle. I will have finished uses avoir, so it becomes j'aurai fini. J'aurai fini mes devoirs quand tu arriveras. But on the right, take a look at the verb partir, to leave. That is a classic Dr. and Mrs. Vandertramp verb, so it needs être. It becomes elle sera déjà partie. Notice how with the être example, we still have to make our past participle agree in gender by adding that extra e to partie just because the subject, elle, is feminine. The rules are so wonderfully consistent. Let's jump into section 4, key triggers and supposition. We are going to dive into some really practical vocabulary that basically acts like a giant neon sign pointing right to this tense. When you spot these common time conjunctions linking to future actions, it is almost guaranteed you're going to need our 2-step trick for the first action. We're talking about words like quand and lorsque, which both mean when, or dès que and aussitôt que, meaning as soon as, and après que, meaning after. every single one of these perfectly sets up that timeline we talked about. One thing completely finishing so another can start. To see this out in the wild, check out this wonderful literary example from the famous French writer Jean Cocteau. He wrote, "Tu ne seras content que quand tu auras cassé cette chaise," meaning you will only be happy when you will have broken this chair. Notice our neon sign trigger word, quand. It perfectly shows how the action of breaking the chair, tu auras cassé, must be completely, totally finished before the person will actually be happy. Now, here is a little bonus native speaker secret that is going to make you sound incredibly natural. It's called le futur conjectural. You can actually use this exact future tense to make a guess or express a probability about something that has already happened in the past. It sounds wild, but it's absolutely true. As noted in the classic grammar guide, the Becherel, instead of translating this literally as, she will have missed her train, in everyday spoken French, this translates beautifully into a really confident guess. Elle aura manqué son train. She must have missed her train. If your friend is late and you're trying to deduce why, you just say, Elle aura manqué son train. It's a fantastic, high-level way to express probability like a true native. All right, Section 5, Interactive Practice Quiz. Let's translate. You have absorbed all the theory, so now it is time to put your new superpower to the test with a quick, interactive challenge. Get those mental gears turning. Here is your very first challenge. How would you translate this sentence into French? He will have repaid his loan when he has finished his studies. Quick vocab check. The verb for repay is rembourser, and loan is sans prêt. I'm going to pause for just a second. I want you to really apply the formula, remember your helper verbs, and definitely look out for our trigger word, when. Okay, let's walk through the solution together. Il remboursera son prêt quand il aura terminé ses études. Did you get it right? Notice our trigger word, quand. We use the simple future for the main action, il remboursera, but for the action that absolutely must be finished first, finishing those studies, we used our core formula. We use the auxiliary avoir, conjugated as il aura, right? Followed by the past participle, terminé. Let's try one more to really solidify this in your brain. Translate this for me, I will have returned in an hour. And as a massive hint, think super carefully about which auxiliary verb you need to choose for the verb rentrer. Remember the good old Dr. and Mrs. Vandertramp rule? Apply that to your two-step formula. And here is the answer. Je serai rentré dans une heure. Since rentrer is a verb of movement belonging to that Vandertramp list, it literally demands être as its helper verb. So we conjugate it as je serai, followed by the past participle, rentrer. Oh, and don't forget, if the speaker is feminine, you would absolutely need to add an E to the end of rentrer. Excellent work! Section 6. Final review and action. Your turn. You have done a truly fantastic job following along with this explainer masterclass today. You've tackled some seriously advanced grammar with flying colors. So let's quickly lock in what we've learned to make sure it really sticks. Here are your 3 massive takeaways from today's session. Number 1, Le Futur Antérieur is your go-to tool for expressing an action that is completely finished before another future action even begins. Number 2, the core formula is just the future simple of avoir or être plus your past participle. And remember, the rules for picking between them are exactly like le passé composé. And finally, number 3, do not forget that secret native use. You can use this tense to confidently guess what must have happened in the past. Master these 3 points, and you have officially leveled up your French fluency.
Now, learning is all about actually doing, so I have one final challenge to leave you with today. Think about your plans for the rest of the day. What is one thing you will have done by tonight? I want you to drop down into the comments and write a sentence using your newly acquired golden formula. Tell me, d'ici ce soir, j'aurai, and fill in the blank. Before you go, think about this. By learning this one single tense, you haven't just memorized some grammar rules. You've basically unlocked the ability to time travel in your conversations, shifting effortlessly between what is, what will be, and what must have been. Keep practicing, stay incredibly focused, and I'll see you in the next explainer.